Welcome back to another Purpose, Profits, and Pixie Dust podcast. My name is Lindsay Dollinger, and I am so excited for our guest today, Frannie. So, Frannie, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, where you're from, maybe where you're living now, because we were just talking about that, and what do you do?
So I am originally from the US in Massachusetts, and I traveled I left my corporate job and traveled to a handful of places, but eventually I ended up in Portugal at one point and have pretty much been here ever since. I've definitely made some trips uh, since then, but since 2017, I've been living in Portugal and I love it here, absolutely. The
Mm-hmm.
weather compared to Massachusetts is a beautiful place.
I bet.
And yeah, I run a fully remote digital marketing agency. We w- um, we focus on Facebook and Instagram ads, but also just on the entire marketing ecosystem that online business owners need to have in order
Mm.
to run, market, sell their business.
Oh my gosh, I love that. We're going to dive into so much juicy stuff with this. I can already feel it. So, you just mentioned the marketing ecosystem that business owners get to have. Can you kind of explain to someone who's like, I have no idea what that means? Someone like very basic terms, what does it mean when you're talking about the ecosystem that we get to have?
Yeah, so a lot when I was moving in my career in marketing, a lot of conversation was around having a marketing funnel, which is,
Mm.
something that attracts people to your business and then brings them from never having known you to not only knowing you, but maybe interacting with your business in different ways, joining your social accounts or your email list, and then eventually buying from you. But really, what I found in my experience is that it's much more like an ecosystem. Like everything is cyclical and it needs to happen again and again, especially
Mm.
now, for people to truly, as they say, like, know and trust you. So, the way that the marketing ecosystem works is it's a handful of systems that bring people to you, help them to get to know you through different marketing strategies, and then hopefully encourage them to convert. And it's not just a, one time thing. Like they may need to get to know you over months and months and months versus just they go through that funnel one time.
Yeah.
It's really just continuous engagement, continuous connection so that they then really feel like you're the right person or team to work with for whatever it is they need. And I like to think of it in that way so that in my head, I know that like if somebody doesn't take the action we want them to take right away, that's okay. Like they're just not at that point right now, but they're in our community, they're in our ecosystem. And if we keep working our marketing efforts, hopefully they will convert when they're ready.
Yeah. I think that's such an important message because a lot of women, myself included, sometimes I know you can get frustrated because you're like, I'm putting in the work and I'm showing up every day. Like, why are the results not coming? And, you have to give it longer than 30, 60, 90 days. Like some people, it takes, and again, myself included, I just bought something from people who I have been listening to their podcast at least 2 or 3 years, which I know sounds like the longest amount of time. And,
No.
I've always felt like I wanted to work with them. I really, really like them, but it just like the product hasn't been quite right for, where I needed it that. And finally it was, and now I converted, so it can take a really long time for some people. And so I'm glad you said that because like I said, I think a lot of people are like, hey, almost like, when you're trying to lose weight and you go to the gym and you're like, I've gone to the gym every day this week. Why didn't I lose a pound or whatever? Same sort of thing, right? It's that consistency of showing up.
100%. And I think, too, a lot of what I've seen, so I've been in marketing since 2010, but really in the online space since 2014. And a lot of what I've seen over the years is so much of that, like quick win or like get these type of results in so many days, and whatever the main message is that's out there. And it's the everyone, not everyone, a lot of people, myself included, have expectations that are wrong because of that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
really trying to understand, just like the workout example, is that like it's just a constant cycle of working and improving and being consistent and doing what you can to offer value and build relationships. And I don't know, that for me, that like ecosystem, I just think of like a circle, and like the cycle of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, going around that way is such a better way to explain it, understand it, and like own expectations.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I do want to dive into ads, but before we get to ads, are there any strategies or any things that you see working maybe right now in a more organic way to convert people or to build a funnel? Because I feel like things change all the time. And I don't know about what you're getting ready to say or not, but people I have heard are not converting as high on like a webinar, for example, as maybe they were 5 years ago because webinars were like a newer thing then. So I'm just curious, what are some organic strategies that you find working with your clients right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think first, the industry has changed so much in the last year, especially, but definitely, in the last 4 or 5 years too. It's so much more saturated. I think COVID impacted that a lot because
Yeah.
prior to, it was kind of like the newbies or a very small amount of people were here in the online space. It didn't feel like a small amount at that time, but
Yeah. Hmm.
compared to now, it really does feel like things were new and small then. And so I agree with you, and I'm seeing the same thing in terms of people having more difficult time converting and things just being different. And
Hmm.
so and I think that's because there's more options. There, people have been, I guess, burned or sold these
Yeah.
messages that aren't maybe true or whatever. So we need to build that trust factor more and more.
Hmm.
And I believe in what I'm seeing in my own business, but also with clients, is giving that extra effort to build those deeper connections with the people who really show you that they're interested, engaged. Of course, we don't have time to make deep, deep connections with every single person. But whatever we can do, whether it be like DMing or jumping on a quick call or, having some email exchange to build those stronger relationships, even if somebody hasn't necessarily bought from you, is what's really working to build that like no trust factor. And then from there, they speak to their colleagues or their friends or whatever and bring people to you, is what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I think because of the growth of the community or the industry, there's been a message of passive income and do everything automatically and all of these things. And so people have gotten to a place where they felt like they could just post and sell, post and sell. And there really is more
Hmm.
to it.
Yep.
And it's kind of going back to the foundation of really giving that extra effort to your community when you can. Of course, we can't always do it, but when you
Right.
can. And so I think that's like the one thing, the one big thing. But when it comes to some other strategies, I know that delivering value in a way that is different and truthful to your experience is really working as well. I think sometimes we can all, myself included, get caught up in like the general message that's working right now or what we feel like we should say or things like that. But the more that you can just dig deeper into what you really believe and feel and like what sets you apart, I think is another thing that really, really can help you stand out.
Oh my
And
gosh.
using that
Yep.
in your emails or on your social, and really like honing your unique voice.
Ooh, guys, both of those tips I think are so huge. Okay, so the first one about the personal connection, I mean, I agree with everything you just said, but 100%, I think that's such an important reminder because right now, especially with AI and like you said, automations, like that's going to be the thing that helps you stand apart, even if it's a quick message. Like I was just talking to someone who's, I'm running a free event this week, and I just sent her a message like, hey, tell me more about your business because she's someone who's new to my realm and I don't really know, what she does. And regardless of whether she ends up working with me in another capacity, like that is still a relationship that I'm going to keep, you know, working on. And it took me 2 seconds to send a quick message. And like you said, that's what's going to set you apart from other people in this realm of, and I'm all about automating and systems, don't get me wrong, but I do think that there are some things that you just can't farm out. You know what I mean?
100%. I think I was literally just thinking that because even I tell people to use ads to create some automation in their
Yeah.
business. And we use different things that help us automatically set tasks and whatever. But I think even I got caught up in the last years of like this
Mhm.
whole like trying to work in a way that I didn't like set things up in a way that I didn't have to work. That was like
Yeah.
ingrained in my head, and I knew I would always be working, but I almost was like, but
Yep.
when will I get to that point where like I really have all that freedom like those people do? And I think that that is not the reality of what anybody really experiences. They,
Yep.
yes, they have way more freedoms, but it's not 100% passive at all. They're either paying people to do it for them or they're
Yep.
working more than they say, whatever, which is fine. But I think in my mind, I got a little ahead of myself and was trying to step away from some of that personalization. And the
Yep.
more that I've incorporated that back in my business to really like take some extra time to create those connections and build them up, I think it's done a lot, for sure. So it's a balance of both.
Right. Right. I agree. Yeah, I totally feel that because I'm the same way. Like you see other people supposedly doing it, but like you say, there's so much more to that than what we're actually seeing. And it's very easy for us to be like, well, they're doing it, then I can do it. But you don't know all the pieces either. But I was also just talking to a coach of mine, and we were like, okay, what do you really love in your business? And the part that I really love is actually talking to people, like coaching people. And I'm like, I can't automate that. I can't farm that out. And
Yeah.
I don't want to because that's the thing that I love the most. And so I think it's an important reminder to ask yourself too, like, what are the pieces of your business that you really love the most? Like you said, that help you stand out from other people. Those are things that we can't necessarily get rid of. And the other thing that you said that I really loved was basically don't water yourself down online, right? Because when we do that, and it can be so easy to do that, like you said, when you're making content or you see what other people are doing and you think that's what other people want you to do. No, like going back and really tapping into like our true self and showing people our true self, that's when the magic happens. So I love that reminder. Both of those things really, really stuck out. And they were both things that I literally were just having a conversation about last night. So it was like the universe like took that out of your mouth to remind me of that. I'm like, yes, yes, I got to do that. So
It's like
thank you.
another sign.
Yes, yes. I'm like, yes, this was right. On track. All right, let's dive into ads because I don't know if I've ever had anyone on the show to talk about ads. And I know this is a hot button topic because it is a way that I know you have had amazing success with your clients with ads. So, share a little bit about maybe why we should consider starting ads. Just talking to a complete newbie about this, and tell us the advantages of them.
Yeah, so ads are something that I used to say was good for people at a certain level or people who were really interested in testing out the strategy. But now I believe they're for everyone. And it goes back to what we were talking about before, just like the saturation of the industry. Not only that, but the change in organic reach and the way that the social platforms show our content to other people. I think part of why people, myself included, can get caught up in the messaging and not being so true to ourselves is because we feel like we have to put so much out there, and that's draining and it can be time
Yeah.
consuming. And so it's easier to just put something out than really put something thoughtful out. And
Mm,
so, and even when we do put something thoughtful out organically, it doesn't sometimes even reach anywhere near all of our community, you know, the people following us. And it definitely struggles to reach a lot of new people. So, with ads, what you can do is one, create a smaller amount of content, actually gets the reach, whether it be to your audience or to new people. You can do both, but there's a lot more assurance that what you're putting out there is actually going to be shown. And so you can at least know and test and figure out like what is working with my ideal audience, like what results can I get from this? A lot of people come to me saying, I've got this great content and I've got this great product and I've sold it to my warm audience and they love it, but I can't get it out to new people. Or, I'm building all this content and it's seeing almost no, views, no engagement, when before that wasn't the case. Even
right.
people running their business for years now. And so
Yep.
the thing with ads is that it solves those problems of having to overcreate and also then not even getting the work that you put in shown.
Yeah.
And it can run somewhat on an autopilot. It does run in the background of your business. It needs maintenance. You have to look at the ads. You have to optimize things. It doesn't work
Yep.
right away. You have to create some new content every month or so, but it's just on a different scale. And for me and my clients, what people really love about ads is that, yes, there is something that needs to be done to maintain those results and to even, get yourself to a successful place in the beginning. But it leaves more space in your business to focus on other things, like having the time for that personal connection, like having the
Mm,
time to really sit down and think about the messaging that you want to put into your content. And does this really resonate with me, or am I just trying to put out as much content as possible? So it gives you back that time, I would say, to focus on other areas of your business, or if you want, from time to time to take a longer vacation or have
yeah.
shorter days, things like that.
I love that. Okay. When you are starting driving ads, are we driving them to just a social post, like to interact for awareness, to a lead magnet, low ticket, a mixture of those? What's kind of your recommendation getting started?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of questions that I get about ads, I'm like, well, it really depends.
Depends. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say that one of my, there's two ways you can go. One is if you really just want to dip your toe in and kind of get to know the platform, figure out how things work, because there is like a little bit of a learning curve there.
Hmm.
Then it's a great idea to run something to a piece of content. I wouldn't boost it through your actual Instagram. I would
Yeah.
take that inside the ads platform and
Hmm.
really learn how to run an ad, for
Yep.
example. And, this is the main goal here is to learn more. Like, how long are people watching this video? Are they commenting? Are they engaging? Like, what's happening? And how do I kind of test different audiences or things like that? So that
Hmm.
could be one way to go if you're really wanting to do some testing. But if you are wanting to invest in the strategy and get some stronger results, I would say running ads to a lead magnet is the best way to go, because you are capturing new people and having them on your email list is so valuable. It is a little
Hmm.
bit it is going to be more costly for sure. And you are going to
Okay.
be responsible for using that marketing ecosystem to follow up with the leads, build that deeper relationship, because they are going to be people who don't know you, have never heard about you. They're going to need some more warming up than, say, someone who comes from a webinar you did with a colleague who has a really engaged audience, or even a podcast episode you did with somebody. So these people coming from ads are going to need more engagement from you. So that could be through email. If they get on your social, they start following you. Yeah. So there is that like cycle of connecting with them.
Makes
But
sense.
that's a
Yeah.
great way to invest in ads and grow an extremely strong asset, which is your email list.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. Let's switch gears a little bit because this is just selfishly a question that I was wondering about. When
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
creating your ad, and I've been like looking at other ads that are popping up for me, trying to see if there's like a set pattern. Is there any tips you have for the actual graphic on the ad? Like, should there be words on it? Is it better to have someone's face in it? Is there anything that, because most of our listeners are, I would say, service providers, coaching in some way, and then the other half, I know this is like a bad comparison, but like product based. So they sell jewelry, clothing, usually some sort of a woman based sort of industry
Brand.
item.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any
So,
tips on the actual graphic?
yeah, so I would say what works for you organically is likely going to work for you ads wise. If
Makes sense.
you're great at speaking to the camera and you love to do that, and people in your audience like that content, then great. If you love to put together B-roll cuts with different like transitions and music and text on top, you can try that. If you love to use text only and do like a carousel, try that. I would say the biggest
Okay.
thing is that you want to test different things so that you can
Mm-hmm.
find out what works. Really a huge, huge thing with Facebook and Instagram ads and marketing in general is strategically testing based on evidence you already have. So whether that be working with somebody or knowing what works for your warm audience, people who already know you,
Mm-hmm.
building some ads to test, and then looking at the data. I have a client who, you know, we would normally say, yeah, like a face to camera video or a graphic with your image will work really well.
Mm-hmm.
It has a higher chance of working because it's probably also on your landing page and on your Instagram
Mm-hmm.
account, so they see that kind of continuity. But I have
Yeah.
had a client who anytime we did anything with her face, and I mean she's a beautiful woman, like she's kind, she speaks well in her videos, but it just didn't work as well for
Mm.
her audience as things that were more text based or just like video B-roll type of stuff.
That's
So
so interesting.
you
Yeah.
really do need to test out even different messages and different visuals to find like what does my audience out there, the cold audience,
Mm-hmm.
want. And that's another great thing about Facebook and Instagram ads is you can get enough data through that to have like a clear answer. A lot of times
Yeah.
I know, will post some things on social media and we don't have that many people viewing it or liking it
Mm-hmm.
or whatever to give a solid, yes,
Right.
this was the best performer. But with ads, you really do get that quantity that you need to learn.
Okay. So let's talk about testing. When you're testing, because I'm assuming you also test different audiences, like audience A, audience B. So are you doing all this testing simultaneously, or do you like run an ad a week and then we switch the audience and then we run it another week, then we switch the graphic? Like, because I'm assuming it's a longer process. Like you're not going to do all this testing in a few days and be like, okay, this is the winner, right? So what does that
Yeah.
testing process look like, and what sort of timeline can someone expect if they're working with you or if they're doing it otherwise?
Yeah, I would say in terms of a timeline, I like people to give it at least like 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say in terms of testing is the way that we do it is in the beginning, our biggest test is the audiences. So we will test some different audiences, and in each audience, the way that you set up your ads is like, first it's your campaign type. There's 3 different levels, and that says like what the goal of your campaign is. Next is the ad sets, and that's where you set up all the targeting and the audiences. And so that's like the big testing area in the beginning. And then the third level are the ads themselves. And so we put a 3 to 4 ads, 4 to 6 ads, depends on the campaign, in every single ad set. So we're mainly testing the targeting in the beginning, although you still get a lot of information about the ads themselves, but they're tested equally between each targeting audience. So you can know, okay, overall, this ad did the best, but also this other ad worked really well for this targeting audience. So there's a lot of things to look at, but really in the beginning, what we want to find out is like what people from these new audiences, from this data that Facebook is allowing us to use, what people are interacting the most. And then from there, you can say, okay, these 2 targeting options worked best. Let's try new ads with them and see, is it a different video that would work better, or a different image, or things like that.
Oh, that makes sense. Love that. Yeah, I didn't even think about the different ad sets being run at the same time. So that's a really good visualization for people. So I hope everyone stops, rewinds this, and writes all that down because that was a lot of really valuable information. Okay, let's talk a little bit about audience types. So if someone already has an established email list, do you create a lookalike audience? Is that one of the audiences you would create? And then maybe you would do one with their followers, different things like that. How do you have any recommendations for someone on setting up audiences?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, there's 3 different types of audiences that you can create in Ads Manager. The first is called the custom audience, and that's of people who know you. And so your email list, your Instagram following, people who DM you on Instagram, people that have visited your website. You can create a lot of different audiences, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
that is a valuable resource for one, to find new people and create a lookalike audience. So for people who don't know, basically, if you have a very strong email list, you upload that to Facebook, and then you say, hey, create an audience of people who look just like my email list based on the millions of creepy data points they have about us.
Yeah, I know. It is kind of weird.
Yeah, but don't know me. So Facebook creates a whole new audience of people. They're very similar to your email list in terms of like pages they follow on Instagram, even like things they buy in other apps, like posts they interact with, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
they don't know you. They've never met you. So yeah, that's a lookalike audience. I highly recommend that to people. So you could do it of your email list. You could do a lookalike of anyone who engaged with your Instagram. You could do a lookalike if you have a large enough purchaser list. You could even do that, which can be like gold sometimes.
Yep.
So lookalikes are super valuable, and these are cold audiences, meaning they don't know you, they've never engaged with you, they're just very similar to people who do know you. And then the other type of audience that you can target, which is also cold audiences, is called an interest audience. And that's basically Facebook categorizing people based again on data into certain areas. So, for example, if you run a business, like I worked with a client who used to be a nurse, and she helped new nurses like improve their resume, get better jobs, things like that. So we did a lot of targeting around nursing school, interest targeting around nursing schools, or brands of
Oh, smart.
scrubs, or different types of things that a nurse would
Yeah.
be categorized as an interest. So it doesn't mean that you have to like thumbs up the page on Facebook or anything like that. It's just based on data. Same with
Yeah.
like another one that we use a lot for online business is tools and software. So it could be something like WordPress, Canva, Thinkific, ClickUp, Asana, basically
Yeah.
softwares that online business owners use.
Hmm.
So there's so many ways you can go with interest targeting.
Yeah.
It's really, really honestly fun for me to find different
Yeah.
interests. But
Yeah, that makes so
yeah.
much sense. You're saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can like already start thinking. So like a lot of my audience are teachers because, that was my realm as well. So I'm like, that is so genius to be thinking about things that teachers would be liking and looking up, or even just interacting with. Like you said, you don't even have to like the page to be categorized in that because Facebook keeps track of all of us in a really creepy way.
Yeah, yeah,
Creepy,
unfortunately
but very
or
helpful for us for
fortunately.
ads
Yeah,
running. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay, before we hop off of here, you specifically help clients with Facebook and Instagram ads. Is that correct?
yeah.
Is there one that you would recommend people get started with if you have both accounts, or is it kind of whichever platform you feel you will show up stronger, one that's doing better or maybe cheaper right now? Do you have any insight on that?
So you can actually do both at the same time. And
Oh,
essentially,
cool.
there are a number of different placements where you can put your ads. So you can put them in the Reels placement, in the Stories placement, in the Facebook feed. And I would
Oh,
actually
wow.
recommend that you do, they have something called automatic placements where just based on the ad that you put in, they will put it everywhere and then show it to the place where it's most likely to get results. And that's what I would
Mm,
recommend. It makes things a
okay.
little bit easier for you. I don't always recommend using their like automatic settings, but in this case, we've tested it a lot and we find that using the automatic placement is actually the highest performer.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Great. I didn't even know you could do both at one time, and I've never heard of automatic placement. So thank you. That was such a good nugget. Do
Yeah.
you ever run Pinterest ads for
I do
clients?
not run
Okay.
Pinterest ads, but it's
Okay.
actually something I want to do for my own business fairly
Hmm.
soon. So I'll keep
Yeah,
you
yeah. I've
updated
heard
on
for
that in the
certain types
future.
of businesses, yeah, Pinterest could be a good ad placement, but I didn't know if it was similar or like its whole other beast, which I'm assuming it's probably its own other beast to a degree.
Yeah, but what's interesting about Pinterest is it can drive a ton of traffic, and then you could then retarget all that traffic with a Facebook or Instagram ad.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that's smart. I didn't think about that. Well, yeah, keep us posted. Maybe we'll have you back on next year to to
Talk
give
about
us an
Pinterest ads.
yeah, an update. Pinterest ads and everything with Facebook and Instagram ads, because I'm sure it'll be different in a year because it changes all the time.
For sure keeps us on our
So
toes.
before we hop off and tell everyone how to connect with you, because everyone's going to want to connect with you, I have a few just rapid fire questions I like to ask my guests. So
Okay.
either favorite personal development or business book you've read, or maybe what you're reading currently. I would love to hear. This can be
Okay,
a hard
so
question, I know.
no. I'm a big fiction reader, I will say that, but I do love to listen to personal
Mhm.
development and business books on Audible. I don't know why, but I can't
Yeah.
stay as focused on a
My
fiction book.
sister's the same way.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
want it in my hand. But one of my favorite books is by Michael Singer, he writes The Surrender Experience, and I guess it
Oh,
is
yeah.
in a way more of a personal development, but he also had a lot of successful businesses, so it's kind of both. But it's just
Hmm.
about, I've always been a believer of like everything happens for a reason, like the right thing happens for
Yeah.
you, even though it may not be what you wanted or expected. And
Yeah.
he explains this and outlines it so well in his book. I find myself listening to it again and again, but it's just truly like we can go through difficult things. Like I know for me, like the industry has changed a lot over
Hmm.
my career. And sometimes I've felt really like, oh my gosh, this is like, why does this have to change so much? This is so
Yeah.
stressful and difficult. But then on the other side of it, like I've really learned so much, grown so much. It pushed me in a different direction for one reason or another. And same with my personal life too. And I think it's
Yep.
such a good business lesson to understand that like things change, things shift. It might be stressful now, but like there will be like a light at the end of the tunnel and you look back and be like, wow, actually,
Mm,
that drove me into where I am now, which for me has always turned out to be positive in one way or another.
yeah. I love that. I say that saying so much, and I actually have that book. It is sitting up next to my bed. I don't know if you know this, but I fell and broke my ankle and my leg in April, and it was
Oh,
just really
wow.
traumatic and was going through a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
someone recommended that book to me. They were like, "You need to read this book because, everything happens for a reason." And that's what I kept telling myself that. But people sent me so many books, so it's still laying there. So now I'm gonna start reading it tonight because I feel like that's definitely sounds exactly right up my alley. So I'm excited. So
For
thank you
sure.
for
And
sharing that. You're like saying
yeah,
all the right things today, Frannie. Ooh, okay. Next question, and this is just kind of like my selfish question. Bucket list place you want to visit. What's on your bucket list?
number one that I want to visit is Galapagos Islands, which
Ooh,
is
mm-hmm.
off of Ecuador, and the animals are
Yeah.
supposed to be like out of this world beautiful. And I feel that if I don't go soon, it will be overrun by tourists.
Mm,
I think it's already getting bigger, but
yeah.
um, it just seems to me so like interesting and different. I mean, I have a
Yep.
long bucket list. I'm sure maybe you do
Yeah.
too.
I
But
do, and Galapagos is on there. I did a report about the blue-footed booby in fifth grade.
oh my gosh, so
And they
cool.
are they're on the Galapagos Islands. So I have always
Yes,
wanted to
yes.
go and see them like in their natural habitat. So yes, I totally agree. And I don't even know if they're anywhere else. I'm sure they're probably somewhere else in the world, but I'm like, I want to see them there. The
Yeah, after
Galapagos.
you wrote the report, you have to go.
That's right. You have to go. And it's so weird because I don't like my memory is really, really bad, but I remember like the front of the National Geographic like cover where I saw them and I was like, I'm gonna do my report on that. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
just remember those little things.
and you probably had to read the National Geographic instead
Oh,
of like
yes.
going on the
Yes. No
internet. And
internet. Mm-mm. Yep.
yeah,
Yep. I'm dating
which is
myself there.
like the
No
good old
internet.
days, right? Like,
Right. The encyclopedia, you pull it out and you had to find it.
yeah.
I love that. Okay. Do you have a morning routine, a nightly routine, neither, both? What does that look like for you?
So I used to be a huge morning routine person, and I'm really wanting to get back into it. But right now, my mornings are more relaxed and I just go with the flow really of like what the day needs. But my nighttime routine
Hmm.
is pretty good. I am big on magnesium these days, which
Mm,
I'm 7.5 months pregnant, so it's very good for circulation, which I need.
yeah.
And it also helps you like not only fall asleep but stay asleep. So I always have like
Yep.
water with magnesium,
Mm,
and we like to like dim the lights and just kind of like chill out. I always go and like wash my face and get in my pajamas before I hang out on the couch or start to
mm,
relax. So I kind of
yeah.
like set the vibe of
Yeah.
nighttime. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, I'll always, after I, binge a couple episodes of something or whatever, I'll always end with just reading before I go to bed. So I don't have that, we work on screens, we're on our screens.
Yep.
So
Your
it's
blue
like,
light.
okay,
Hmm.
yeah, can we shut that off for a little while and read
Yeah.
a little bit? But that's always a fiction book, not a, nothing
Hmm.
self-help or
Yeah.
anything
Nothing,
like
nothing
that
to
before
learn. Yeah.
bed.
Nothing to
Yeah.
learn before bed. Agreed. Agreed. I used to try to do that. And I'm like, like, I'm not either remembering the stuff or like, I want to think about it after, you read it. And I'm like, this is silly. So fiction it is.
Yes, that's the time for fiction for sure. That and like on vacation or on the beach or something.
Yeah, on the beach. Exactly. All right,
Yeah.
Franny, tell us all the places where people can find you. How can people work with you if they listen to this and they're interested? And I will be sure to link everything in the show notes too for people.
Yeah, so the best place to get in touch is on Instagram, which is elevate her marketing underscore. This is another quick plug for email list. I lost my old Instagram account like about a year
Mm,
ago, which is why I
yep.
have the underscore now. But always so valuable to grow that email list because luckily I had
Yeah.
mine.
Mm. Yep, yep,
And
yep.
yeah, if you want to work with us, you can check out our website there. We have a number of different ways from beginners to more advanced people. If they want to have support for Facebook and Instagram ads, it can be done DIY and we coach you a bit. It can be done for you partly or done for you all the way. So we offer a lot
Nice.
of different levels of support wherever people are at.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that so much because I feel like a lot of times with ads, it's always done for you. And sometimes it can be out of people's budget at the beginning, but it's nice that you have those different tiers so someone can kind of, get their feet wet and start and then move up, to working with you in a full scale way. So I love that. All right,
Yeah, for
everyone, go check
sure.
out Frannie. Yeah, check out Frannie, give her a follow, send her a message when you listen to this, screenshot it and share it in your stories. And we would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for your time, Frannie. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lindsay. It was so nice